it's
Sure.
normal to feel that way. Like, it's not like, oh, I just need to force myself to be positive. Like, you need
Yeah.
to feel all the feelings. It takes time.
When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run, I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision.
Woo! Welcome back, everyone. Welcome one, welcome all to your one-stop shop for everything empowerment. I am your host, Tariq Williams. And not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. And welcome back, because we know this is not your first episode. So thank you all for joining the Speak Your Vision podcast. And well, before I say anything else, one, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you all are enjoying your time cooking all that. And we're going to get into this episode. But I have such a great, fantastic guest with us. We're getting back into that gratitude feel here for Thanksgiving. And I'm going to start to welcome my guest here today. And we're going to talk to you all a little bit about gratitude and her story. So welcome, Aubrey Johnston. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. And, you know, I was so excited to have a conversation with you, Aubrey, and talk to the people. And I thought you were the perfect person for this Thanksgiving episode. And so I want to start off because once again, listeners, we do language here on the podcast and everything like that. And your story is one that I find very interesting and everything like that. And you have a story where you got diagnosed with a chronic illness in college. And so we're gonna get into your story and everything like that. But to help us set the tone, what's one word that describes how you felt when you had this chronic illness that you had? And then we'll go from there. So one word to describe how you felt when that was starting to happen to you.
I felt very lost, I would say. I think that's
Uh-huh.
a really good word to use. There's probably a few different words, but that's the main one.
Mhm.
Um, Before I was diagnosed, I had no idea what was going on. And when I was diagnosed, I had never heard of this disease. So there was a lot of unknown,
Okay.
which could be very upsetting.
Yeah, sure. I can definitely empathize with that in terms of my own diagnosis with my blindness for sure. So tell us what what your chronic illness is. Let's hear the story and then we'll go from there. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So when I was 19, a little over 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare disease called common variable immunodeficiency. So this is a type of primary immunodeficiency. There are actually over 450 types of primary immunodeficiencies.
Mhm.
And one of the main symptoms is low immunoglobulin levels, which basically means little to no immune system to fight off diseases, which can cause a lot of different parts of your body to malfunction. And you can't fight off illnesses when they come to you like normal people's bodies should fight them off.
Mm.
So the way, I found out about it was because I was just extremely sick all the time with no answers. And that's usually kind of the story that people tell when they get diagnosed. For me, I was really sick for about 6 months, but some people I've heard have been sick for 10 plus years or maybe even
Wow.
like their entire life.
Wow.
So I actually was a little bit lucky that I caught it so quickly. But essentially that's the disease. It puts you at a higher risk for other diseases as well, like lymphoma and autoimmune diseases, since your body is malfunctioning in those ways. And so it can show differently in a lot of different people.
Okay. Okay. And so, what does the typical day look like for you? Is there pain? And what type of treatments or medicine, if you take anything like that?
Yeah, so after I started the treatment, so the treatment basically is a plasma infusion, and you get an option when you get diagnosed of whether you're going to get it through an IV or whether or not you're going to get it through subcutaneous method, which essentially is
Yeah,
kind of like an
big word
IV.
that I don't understand.
No, but yeah, I had no idea what that was. So subcutaneous, you think of like your fat tissue. So you can put needles in there and liquid can go through those needles to get into your body and will actually diffuse throughout your body. So it's really crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the subcutaneous method, the one I just described, you can do it by yourself at home. And that's
Mhm.
why so many people like it, because it's flexible. And the IV, you have to go into a hospital and you have to go, when they're open and things like that.
Sure.
And so I started getting that treatment really quickly after my diagnosis. And so before the treatment, I basically always had some kind of illness, whether it was strep or a sinus infection, or um, I had like mucus in my throat, things like that. So
Mm,
about 6-ish months after I started the subcutaneous infusions, I started to feel more like a normal person. I still, if I get an illness, it takes a long time for it to go away. So if I wake up and I feel that I have like a runny nose or sore throat, I'm like, oh gosh, this is not good.
yeah.
But if I wake up feeling normal, it's pretty good. The main thing that I and other patients complain about a lot is the fatigue, like really, really bad fatigue. So when it hits about 2 p.m., if I'm like working all day, I just want to lay down. And I want to lay down basically all the time. There's
Mhm.
ways, you can combat that, but it's pretty hard for it to go away totally. So I think that's kind of the main thing that I deal with if I'm not like dealing with an illness.
Okay. Yeah. And so, and I want to make sure that we are clearly like painting this picture because people are understanding that you're talking about your illness a little bit, but to paint the picture, this isn't like I have a cold and I could just take some more vitamin C. It doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and it's just like I know I'm going down a long path when I feel something coming on. And it's happened so many times that like if I get that sinus headache, I'm
Mm,
like, oh no. And I basically have to go to urgent care like immediately. And I'm down to a rhythm of when I get sick of like, I need to do this immediately and this immediately. But yeah, there's no like taking Dayquil and feeling better really.
got
You
it.
have to get antibiotics, but then, it's tough because then you're taking longer antibiotics. Like I've taken like 20 days worth before to try to get those things to go away.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, with the plasma, it replaces antibodies that fight off the diseases. So I have a lot like better chances than without the plasma treatments,
Sure.
but it's still not to a normal level. So it's at least better, but it doesn't cure the problem. You have to do it continually basically for the rest of your life. You're kind of just keeping it at bay.
Okay.
Um, so I do them like every 2 weeks, but sometimes like right before my next infusion, the levels get lower. So I start to maybe like just not feel as good in general.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So, it's a treatment. It's not a cure, but at least makes it so that I don't get as sick as often. But yeah, if I get something, it's just sometimes I just can feel it. I just know I'm in for like not a fun time.
Sure, sure. And I really want to make sure once again we're painting this picture for the listeners and they're understanding what's happening. And ultimately like you're still living your life, which is really why I wanted to have you on today, because I think that you are, a model of just, things are going to be happening in your life. And you said you got into your rhythm and you just keep moving forward, right?
Yeah,
Now,
100%.
now, when it comes to like your treatments, real quickly, I just want to make sure. So you said that you do this every 2 weeks, and so you do this, you take this medicine at home exactly. Can you explain like what this looks like every 2 weeks? And you said this is continuous until like rest of your life, basically, right?
Yeah, or I guess until there's some magical cure that some
Ah,
scientist comes up with
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
I'm delusional in thinking that might happen. But basically, every month I get sent a box from Quorum, so it's part of CVS Pharmacy. So they send me this refrigerated box with a bunch of ice packs in it. there's a bunch of vials of plasma. So people donate plasma in the US. You can get paid for it, which is really cool. And so a lot of times people that have donated have told me that they actually have no idea where it goes. So that's kind
Yeah.
of like part of why I talk about it, because
Yeah.
I think people are really, they're they feel better about it, even though you're already getting paid, but you also want to know like what's happening to it.
Sure.
And yeah, so it comes to my house and I have a pump, I have syringes, I have tubing and needles. And basically, when the time comes, it's up to me to do it. No one's really on my shoulder telling me I need to do it. I know that like every 2 weeks, usually it's like a Wednesday. I get all my stuff out. My boyfriend helps me, luckily, but I used to do this pretty much by myself or with a friend.
Hmm.
But basically, I would fill these syringes with the plasma, and then I would attach tubing and I would insert these needles into my stomach. So I put them on, and if you've seen those, like they're like kind of like adhesive, like clear adhesive that people put over like IVs or needles. I
Hmm.
put that over it so that it stays in and I can like walk around and stuff. But basically I turn on my pump and make sure everything's perfect so that it will pump over like an hour and a half. So I just like watch TV. Maybe I'll like get up and stand up, but obviously I can't do like aerobics or anything. Like
Right.
I have these tubes, and so I kind of just chill while it's going. Sometimes I get really sleepy and like fall asleep, and then like my boyfriend has to wake me up to like take the needles out. But yeah, and then I take them out, which is arguably for me it's the worst part. I don't like it. Sometimes I'm like bleeding and stuff. And so yeah, that's kind of the method. So it's different for every person. Some people are doing it once a week, some people are doing it, once every 2 weeks, once a month. So it's depending on what levels you're at.
Okay. Wow. Wow. And so this is consistent. I think that when people think about like, oh, why isn't there a cure for this or anything like that, and what have you, a magic pill, and there really isn't a magic pill for a lot of different things in life. And so I once again bring it, and I really admire you to the fact that you and I are similar, because you have to go through this, every 2 weeks, and you got this disorder out of nowhere. And once again, why I really wanted to bring you on was because you're still living your life, right?
Yes.
You're still taking it day by day. You're doing your thing, and tell me, let's start getting into that piece of it, because I think it takes a certain amount of gratitude, right? Being thankful for your situation, whether it might not be the greatest situation, but still being grateful for it and still living your life. So why is that important to you?
Yeah. So basically, in the beginning of having a chronic illness, yeah, it's very shocking. You don't know what's going on. It's upsetting. I think it's really important to have that time where you're kind of like grieving like your old life, of like,
Mm,
there was things like I really wanted to go to Spain one day and teach English. And I've had friends that have done that. And I couldn't go because like, how was I going to get the plasma over there? All this insurance stuff. Like, what if I got sick? Like, and I just like, those things at first were really upsetting to me because I thought my life was going to look one way and then it didn't. I think once you get over that period, like you should let yourself have that, but you basically have to make a decision, is kind of how I've seen it. Of at one point, I'm going to choose like whether this is going to take me down and destroy my life, or whether I'm going to just build my life like around this and figure out how to still do things that I want to do. I'm not going to get to do everything I want to do, but I mean, no one really does. Like,
right,
and
right.
so that's the thing, is like something's stopping you from everything. But you can choose to figure out how to do, those things anyway. During school, people would ask, like, well, do you think like you're just gonna drop out? Do you think you're gonna move home? I'm like, no. I mean, would it be nice for my mom to be, taking care of me and helping me and all this stuff? Yeah, that would be super nice. But
Shout
sometimes
out,
you have to
mom.
choose, yeah, shout out.
Shout out,
Sometimes you
mom.
have to choose like the uncomfortable thing that's gonna send you in the right direction. And so I think that what I started to realize too is that I'm really grateful that I am in a spot to where I can still live my life. I mean, I kind of feel like my plasma treatments like kind of gave me my life back. Like
Mm.
I started feeling so much better. And yeah, it sucks. Like after work, I'm not dying to stab myself with needles. Like, but like that's what a lot of people say, like with this disease is like, you have to see that as like, that's what's giving you like your life. So
Hmm.
you kind of have to sacrifice one thing to get another thing. And I don't think that like this disease has ruined my life like at all. If
Yeah.
anything, like it has brought me like a new sense of like emotional maturity of like seeing things in a different way. And so that's why with gratitude, like I've talked about that a little bit too, because I think it's easy to like get in this like mindset of like everything's terrible. Like I'm cursed, I'm unlucky, like this happened to me and this didn't happen to other people. Like I watch other young people like be healthy. Like, why is this happening to me? But bottom line is like control the controllable variables. Like I can't control this. So why am I going to sit around and why? What can I do? Like all this stuff. Like there's nothing I can do. So what can I control? I wanted to move to by the ocean. So like I made
Yeah.
it happen. I moved by the ocean. I started
Yeah.
a website. I started meeting people like with my disease. Like, so those are kind of the things that got me to this mindset. And
Right.
it takes years. Like I used to be very anxious, negative Nelly for a
Hmm.
while, which I think everybody goes through that phase when they learn about something terrible in their life. So
Sure.
it's
Sure.
normal to feel that way. Like it's not like, oh, I just need to force myself to be positive. Like you need
Yeah.
to feel all the feelings. It takes time for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listening to you, Aubrey, is crazy. So I I'll say this. I don't want to say I was getting lost, but I was so into everything that you were just saying. So into it. Because so okay, so like with me and my blindness, right? I I could tell that story right now. However, comma, I'm not going to get all the way into it because you just did. And that might sound crazy, but like all the emotions that you're talking about and some of the different like stories that you were just saying is like even though I was going through my thing with blindness and you went through yours during your chronic illness, the journeys are very similar.
Yeah.
Um gosh, I'm not I can't sit here and tell y'all listeners, viewers on YouTube, I can't tell y'all, all right, that everything was great and I felt great about my blindness and everything like that and it was awesome. I can't tell you that I felt that way immediately, right?
Yeah.
But as I went through, met other people going through what I was going through, I said like, "Oh, wait, like blindness, I guess, I could still live my life." I
Yeah.
how do I still travel? Like you mentioned, Spain hasn't been on my bucket list. Maybe I need to put it on there. But but you talk about your treatments and what's giving you like your freedom, so to speak.
Yeah.
For me, it was my white cane. It was my cane to be able to travel from point A to point B and go wherever I wanted to go to. But I had no interest in being a part of that when
Yeah.
I first became blind. I didn't want to look blind. It was brand new and like it just started happening. You know what I mean? And we didn't know what to do and it was a little bit of a shock, but it kind of once again for me as I started accepting it along my journey, I was like, you know what? You can't take anything for granted in life. These are the
Yeah.
moments that I had. These are the moments that I have, and no one can take them away from me.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's helpful to get into that mindset.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about, and maybe it's strangers, friends, et cetera, and they're talking to you, and they're like, "Oh, well, Aubrey can't do that because she has X, Y, and Z. And it's just not the case, right? But because you can, and you can make it a possibility for you to do it, and you put yourself in a position to, enjoy your time. How do you handle those conversations?
Yeah, I think with diseases like this one, since it's not widely known, I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of it is just about like addressing like any kind of misconceptions about it.
Right.
It's like there's some diseases that, people have a lot of common knowledge about. Maybe it's just like a more common disease. But I think it's harder with these because I'd never want to feel like I'm constantly over explaining myself or like having to like prove myself or anything like that. Um, but I feel like it's all just about like educating and kind of like respectfully like explaining like what my life is like. And yeah, so that's what I would say about that. I think it's kind of interesting because what I have is like an invisible illness. So it's
Yes.
something that like people wouldn't know unless I said it. And then I think, it's hard like in for instance in like work scenarios, like I never want it to be like, oh, I'm just complaining and I want to take the day off work because I don't feel good. Like I think sometimes I can not portray it in like the best way. Like I don't explain everything. And so I think the best thing to do is to just like educate and explain, this is what it entails. This is what my life is like. I mean, it's hard to explain rare diseases that people don't really know about. So I just try
Mm-hmm.
my best, like be like articulate about it, but it can still be like really hard.
For sure. But I'm stuck on what you said in the very beginning. Like, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're you, you know? I'm a big believer in, like, I'm not really like a morning routine person. I'm sorry, people. I'm not a morning
I'm not
routine
either.
person. But if there's one habit that I like, it's to work on myself every day and be a better version of myself every day. Like that's the goal, right? And so
Yeah.
if I'm cool with me, I'm good with it. And and whatever it looks like, I'll let the chips fall wherever they fall. Um it's interesting because today actually, or I should say, recently I had someone ask me, so Tariq, like you record your podcast and like do you
Mhm.
ever like re-listen and never think that it's like good enough or whatever? And I said to them, I said, listen, I said, I record and I just put passion into everything that I do. And I put passion into my conversations and I prepare for my conversations. I'm having them with someone else, or if it's, a topic that I'm talking about. But ultimately, I, if I finish recording and I feel good, I don't even bother. Close the
Yeah.
laptop. I feel good about how this went. I'm hyped. Let's go.
Yeah.
Put it on now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and that's it. And that's what matters to me most, as long as I feel good at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. Like,
Mhm.
and it's important to just like be proud of yourself for what you're doing. And yeah, kind of like you said about not having to prove yourself of like, I don't know. I often feel like I have to put on like a face sometimes of like, well, I want everyone to think like my life is amazing. And like,
Yeah.
I think there's like a fine line of like, I just want to be doing something that I'm proud of and like, I want to be happy, but I don't want to get to the point where like I'm having to like exhaust myself trying to like make like my life or whatever I'm doing like look like perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause no one's life is perfect, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, and like I'll say this. I show up on social media most days, if not almost every day. And I show up and if I'm good, I'm great and I'm hype, you know what I mean? But then there are days where I show up on social media and I'm just like, I'm hanging in there. I'm
Yeah.
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
Um and someone told me that it was like Tariq. I'm the mindset person, right? And I'm typically empowering and telling other people
Yeah.
how to how to make that progress mentally and everything like that. And he said, I said to him, I'm hanging in there. And he said, Tariq, it's it, I, I mean, at least you're hanging in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's better than not hanging in there. And I said, you got it. So we had a laugh about that.
Oh.
Um, and so Thanksgiving, is that time of like food and everything like that. And Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. I enjoy cooking a bit at Thanksgiving. I'll get down in the kitchen a little bit. Um, what are do you have any family traditions or things that you do during Thanksgiving? And yeah, let's go there.
Yeah, so I'm from Kansas City, and every year on Thanksgiving, they have a lighting ceremony in this
Oh,
place called the Plaza. It's like really cute.
okay.
And they invite a local celebrity.
Oh,
I don't even know if they've like announced who it is. Sometimes I know who it is, sometimes I don't. But they have them come up and switch on the lights, and it's like these Christmas lights that are like everywhere, so they turn on like all at once. And it's like really
okay.
cold out there, but everybody gets out there, and like there a ton of people go. So I always try to go with like my parents, and yeah, it's a really fun time.
W-
Other than that, I feel like not a ton. I mean, just
Okay.
it's always a good time to like see my family again
Yeah.
and catch up on everything. And then if I'm going to Kansas City, I get to see people that I haven't seen in forever since I live in California. So
Sure.
yeah, it's a good time.
Sure. Sure. When you mentioned that local celebrity, and I feel like we know who the local celebrity has to be this year.
But
Um,
Travis Kelsey,
it has to be Travis Kelsey, and he has
I
to
don't
bring
know.
Taylor.
I don't know if they could swing that.
you know,
I feel like Patrick Mahomes has done it before, but actually I'm
oh
not sure.
wow. You know,
I
we
don't know. I need to
we
look into it.
we need Travis Kelsey. Let's get all the Swifties out. Let's make it
They
happen.
would love that. That would literally go viral. Like,
oh gosh.
yeah, they had Eric Stone Street one time
Okay.
from Modern Family.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
Yeah.
super cool. I didn't know he was from Kansas City.
Yeah,
Yeah. All
crazy.
right. That is awesome. Is there a particular food that you like, or like do you like to cook or during Thanksgiving? What's your favorite food?
I'm not a big cook. I need to learn how to do that. I can cook, but I usually don't.
Hmm.
But I'll help my mom. So
Yeah.
either sometimes my mom will cook, or sometimes we'll like order it from one of those places that makes like the Thanksgiving meals.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and those are usually pretty good too.
Hmm.
But I love mashed potatoes.
Okay.
I don't like turkey. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you?
You know, I feel like turkey's typically pretty dry. I don't know. Maybe I
Yeah.
just haven't had it done properly.
Yeah, people are finally admitting that they don't like turkey. I used to be, like made fun of.
Right, right. Like, I don't know, turkey lunch meat is cool, but I can't get into like the turkey thing during
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Um, I told someone else this recently and they thought it was weird. I'm a macaroni and cheese person. That's my
Hmm,
thing. But I
nice.
someone told me that macaroni and cheese isn't a Thanksgiving food. And I was like, what are you talking about? But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, it is. It definitely is. But
Okay,
it's like
cool.
baked like mac and cheese usually, I feel like, with like breadcrumbs or something.
Okay, cool, perfect. So I haven't completely lost it. Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a thing.
Cool, cool, cool. So, and once again, when we think about Thanksgiving and the food and everything like that, in my opinion, obviously the food is great and it's hard to, you know, think past the food or anything like that. But ultimately, we just want to be grateful and have that gratitude once again for whatever is happening in our lives. And so, for those individuals going through maybe an obstacle or a struggle or anything like that this Thanksgiving season, this holiday season, um, what would you tell those people to think about or do in that situation?
Yeah, the holidays can be weird because,
I gotta say, I love the real. It can be weird. Let's just get that out. It can be weird. Go ahead.
you're traveling, and then there's like if you're flying, things can
Mhm.
go wrong, and just you're going somewhere different. Or I mean, some people don't travel, but I always travel because I moved away from like everybody I knew. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but it can be like weird for a lot of people, I think, because they're going back to maybe their hometown. They haven't been to their hometown in a long time and they haven't seen people in years. And so if you're going through something really hard, sometimes it's hard to like tell people about it if you haven't really
Mhm,
seen them.
mhm.
And it's hard to think like, okay, well, it's like, okay, well, now I have this like rare disease and, like, do I talk about it or do I just like not tell anybody about it? And I think that can be hard. But I think my advice is always just like do like what makes you happy. Like, if you want to go stay at your parents' house for like a week, go stay there for a week. Or if you want to just like be in your room and not go anywhere, like that's okay too. People like have like I think they have like a lot of mixed feelings about the holidays. I really
Mhm.
like the holidays personally. I think it's a really good break to like get out of your like bubble of what you've been doing and like take a break from work and everything.
Yeah,
But when you're going through something hard, it can be hard because you feel like it's supposed to be a happy time. And if you're not having a good time, then it's not. Um,
right.
but yeah, I mean, my advice is just always to like choose what makes you happy and like you have to put yourself first. So if you need to do something for yourself or like your health, then also a good time to do that and not feel like you have to like, keep up like appearances for anyone or anything. Like if you can't like make it or if you're sick or anything like that too.
Yeah, yeah. Make time for you. Make time
Yes.
for you. And this isn't like I made time for me you know, yet like 2 weeks ago at 5:48 p.m. So I'm good for the next month. No, you gotta constantly check
Yeah.
in on your mental health. You gotta constantly check in on the person who you are because you deserve that. You
Yeah.
deserve that.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a conscious, like constant effort for sure.
It has to be because I feel like there's so much pressure. If it's not social media, it's different friends or family or even strangers. Pressure to be an image when the only image that you have to be is you.
Yes. Yeah. And I always have to remind myself like everybody else is going through something and they don't actually like they're not as concerned with me as I think they are. Like it's it's just so true. Like I mean, it's like I can sit here and be like, "Oh, like I hope like everyone doesn't think this about me." It's like
Mhm.
everyone's just so concerned, like yeah, with social media and everything like that too. It's like, okay, like, well, what am I going to post? And like I need to go on like this vacation or I need to be doing this or things like that. So yeah, it's like a good reminder of like people are everybody's like kind of probably going through something like and so it's kind of like, they're worried about what they're doing and you have to be worried about like what you're doing. And it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, if you're not happy and you're not happy with what you're doing, like that's up to you to like change it and
Yeah,
make yourself happy, even if you think it maybe is not like impressive to other people and things like that. Like just do whatever you want to do.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's always good.
You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. Be true to who you are and be grateful for who you are as a person. The
Yeah.
situation that you're in right now is it may be great. It may be difficult, but think about maybe what it might take to like listen to what Aubrey was just saying. Take the steps to be happy, whatever that looks like. And if you have a goal that you've been working on for a few months or whatever the case maybe is, and you're not at that goal yet, and you're not enjoying or not happy with that journey, remember mentally and physically, you have grown to have some different experiences that you didn't have before you started. So you're not where you started. You may not be where you want to be, but recognize that it's a part of your journey, but also make sure happiness is a part of your
Yeah.
journey. So I love that.
Yeah, definitely. Cause like you got to start somewhere, even if
Ooh.
like you don't even think it's going anywhere. Like that's what I have to remind myself. Like I never thought I would be talking on podcasts. I think this might be like the eighth or so one that I've gone
Nice.
on. And I'm like, I never thought I would be talking about this anywhere. I never thought that I had anything really worth saying. I just like started a
Mm,
website one day, randomly started writing about it, the website looked terrible at first because like I had no idea what I was doing. I literally
Yeah,
just made it
yeah.
by myself. And it's just
Wow.
crazy because it's like now I'm getting to the point where like, you know, I'm not like at the end goal, not
Mhm.
even close, but I'm at least like way farther than I was in the beginning.
Right.
And if I like focused on like how much I hadn't done yet or how much I didn't know, then I would
Yeah.
have gotten to this point.
Same when it comes to my blindness, because I don't look blind or whatever that means, right? But what happens is when my disorder popped up and everything like that, I felt lost. I didn't know any other blind people. And so I'm thinking about what moving forward looks like, similar to you. But once again, I got to a place in my journey, and this didn't just happen. Okay, it wasn't like flick of the wrist. It wasn't anything like that. It was the journey. It was a few years or so, but I also was surrounded by some really solid people, some solid friends, some solid family. I met some other mentors and everything like that to get to where I wanted to be, and I'm thankful for everything. I'm thankful for the hardships because
Yeah.
those hardships created the person I am today. And you mentioned it yourself, like going through what you have been going through,
Yeah.
would you say you've gotten some mental toughness through that and that it's helped shape a little bit of your maturity, would you say?
100%. Yeah. Like the toughest time I was going through with this disease was after I started treatment, I was doing so much better. And I went back to the doctor who diagnosed me and he said, like, oh, you look great. And I'm like, I'm doing great. Then he took my blood and
Hmm.
that's now I get like freaking like terrible, like, every time I give blood now because I'm like, if the results are bad, like I cannot handle this. But basically, I got the results back and they said that I had really low white blood counts, that it was like really concerning, and I could possibly have like cancer.
Wow.
And that was like a years long journey of figuring out what the heck was going on. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, well, like, I already got diagnosed with this thing and I have to stab myself with needles and I'm in pain and I'm sick and all this stuff. And then they told me I had low white blood cells, swollen lymph nodes, my spleen was swollen. Like, they said, like, we can't figure it out. I
Yeah.
was getting surgeries to get lymph nodes removed and biopsied for cancer. I got bone marrow biopsy for leukemia, which never wish that on my worst enemy. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
And they told me it wouldn't hurt. And I got in there and I was like, this is torture. And
Wow.
so it was just crazy because that was like my lowest point. And that's when I was all like, woe is me. My life's terrible. Like, no one understands me. And luckily, which I'm grateful for every day, there was no cancer diagnosis at the end of this. I actually just found out
Yeah.
I had a lung disease, which was actually a relief,
Yeah.
because it was better than the other possibilities.
Yeah.
But I think like through all that, after that was kind of over and I was figuring things out, like I was like, wow, I survived that. I feel like I can do anything now.
Yeah.
Just the physical pain of getting like surgeries, biopsies, and the mental pain and trying to explain like in college to like my professors what's going on, my friends, my family's flying out to like do things with me. And I just was like, wow, like I get scared of bad things happening. And then I remember that like I made it through that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy mental strength. And I've changed like so much as a person. And I also like realized too, like I used to tell my mom all the time, like, oh, like I might have cancer, I might have this, I might have that, like my life's terrible, like I could die young. And she was like, anybody could die tomorrow. Like literally,
Yeah.
like we
Yeah.
think we're guaranteed tomorrow. And like not to be morbid and like negative or anything. It's like not even
Sure.
negative. It's just like I would be so mad at myself like if I spent like my day to day worrying about something that's just a possibility if
Hmm.
I like didn't even have like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I learned from that. Like I was worried about I'm gonna drop out of school, all this stuff. And
Yeah.
it never even happened like the way I thought it was gonna happen, which was what was so crazy. Even to this day, I'm like so shocked at how okay I am now. Like
Right. Right. It's shout out. There's a speaker. She has a company called Super Connector Media, and shout out Jen Gottlieb. She always says this, and it couldn't be more true. Whatever it is you're going through right now, you're stronger than what you think you are.
Yeah.
So whatever that situation is, you're stronger than what you think you are. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can get through it. And that's just so, it's so true, because that moment where you're like, ah, I can't do this, I can't da da da. Take a step back. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You can. You can.
100%.
And I think that really shapes, that mentality has shaped me, my mindset for sure. Um, when I became blind, I thought my life was over. I thought, you know what I mean? And I've been told some pretty reckless things about my blindness.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and so like to the point where like who could ever live not being able to see and all that stuff, and a whole tangent of different things I've been told. But it's not about what others are telling us, Aubrey. It's once again, it's about being true to who we are and being thankful for every moment.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I
The-
mean, and every time I hear about like what someone else is going through and they tell me, I'm like, wow, that's so terrible. Like, I feel like I couldn't go through that. Like, and then it's crazy because when people say that to me, I'm like, I can't believe you go through that. And it's like, we're
yeah,
all like looking at each other thinking the other people are strong when in reality, like,
exactly.
we are too. And it's
Ex-
just like when something comes, like, it's not ever what I make it to be like in my head. A lot of it's just in my head. And yeah,
it sounds crazy to people, but I genuinely believe this. They're like, wow, like you're so amazing, you're doing all these things and you're not able to see and all this and this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, it was new to me at one point, and
hmm,
I thought the same way that you did. But I got the skills that I needed, I found the resources that I needed, and I'm living my life just like anyone else. And it seems like you're doing the same, Aubrey.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm super grateful for where I am now, for sure.
Yeah. And truly that's what Thanksgiving is all about, right? Being
Yes.
grateful for the moments, eating some good food in the process, and whatever it is you're going through right now, you're stronger than what you think you are.
Yeah.
You're stronger. You're so much stronger than what you think you are. So recognize that and be the person who you already are, because that person's pretty freaking great. So,
Yes. Yes. We love that.
so 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 in the intro song that I have, and actually it's funny. So a lot of people might not know this, but the intro song is called Adjust, Adapt, and Overcome. And it's not just a hook, it's a song that I wrote shortly
Oh,
after I became blind and started losing my vision, actually. And it's all about adjust, adapt, and overcome. And so this holiday season, Thanksgiving's a thing, but ultimately gratefulness and gratitude is not just oh, well, I hope it's not a once a year thing. Gosh. You know, because it's this thing, right? At Thanksgiving, let's all say what we're thankful for. How about we say what we're thankful for maybe more than once a year? How about that? Uh,
yeah.
but if you could, Aubrey, for someone who's going through whatever it is they're going through, um, and you wanted to express to them how to be thankful for whatever it is they have and how to adjust, adapt, and overcome, shout out to the intro song.
Yes.
Um, what would you tell them?
Yeah. So what I've looked up a little bit myself about gratitude is like it literally can rewire your brain.
Mm,
Like it can actually help you like relieve stress, release dopamine. And so I think that for people that are trying to practice more gratefulness, I actually got a journal that was like geared towards this. But even just every morning, just waking up and being like, okay, what am I grateful for? And then going to bed and thinking in your head, maybe when you're falling asleep, like, what happened today that was positive? And like, what did I learn today? Because I think we can
yeah.
learn something like from every day. It's harder to apply it sometimes. But yeah, and also if I'm not feeling like positive, I'm not feeling good, what can I do to change that? Of like, okay, am I not happy with where I live? Am I not happy with what I do every day? Am I not happy with I'm not doing something I love? Like it's hard to make those changes too, but you want to create a life that has like joy for you, and like you can't change everything like overnight.
Mm,
But and there's joy in like every day. Like my favorite thing ever is to like go get coffee somewhere, and I just love, buying it. I love it. And I love eating out. I love spending money.
there you
Don't
go.
know why it's exhilarating for me. But like it seems stupid sometimes, the things that we love and that we're grateful for, but it's just like I'm glad that I have somewhere where like I can sit and like listen to music. I can sit and watch TV. I can sit and take a walk outside. Like I'm in a spot where I can even do that. And so it
Mm,
seems really simple, but it's like those are things that like make me happy. So
yeah.
kind of finding that
Mhm.
there are some things that really suck, like, I had to do all kinds of stuff over the course of those few years. Like I had to go in one day and get like an IV for like 7 hours, and
Wow.
like but I went with like my one of my best friends, and we were in Denver doing it, and we lived like an hour and a half away. We like got a hotel, we like went out to dinner, and then we went to the hospital together, and then we're just like laughing about dumb stuff that we always
Yeah.
laugh about. And I'm like, okay, well, like this isn't that fun, but like it doesn't have to be terrible. Like I don't have to sit here and just be like crying the entire time. Like
Yeah.
I think it's about like figuring out how to like make things at least as enjoyable as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For real quick, shout out to that friend. That one's a real one.
She is
Shout
she is
out
a
to
real
the
one.
friend. She's a real
Shout out
one,
Vivi if you're listening to this.
you know. And it's gosh, friends, family support, it's can definitely make all the difference, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting when my friends and family were still treating me the same when I was going through my blindness and that journey when we didn't know what was happening. And so it's that can definitely make so much difference for sure. And just find your joy. And that I know that to some of you all listening, that might sound um easier said than done. But what I can tell you is that you are listening and watching two different people that have gone through it themselves. And so, whatever that is, find it because it's
Mhm.
out there for you and go get it for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, this has been fantastic, Aubrey. Last and final question for you because language is super important to the pod. One word that you believe is gonna explain your direction and tell us where what the future looks like for you.
Yeah. Okay. I would say like excited. Like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I feel like I've really pushed myself like this
Wow.
last year to like get out there, kind of like you were saying, connect with more people with my disease and learn a bunch of skills and be kind of trying to create like what is my bigger future and what do
Mhm,
I like want in life. And so I think being excited about life and being excited about the future is something that gets a lot of people through whatever's going on right now. So it's
mhm,
not always going to be like this way forever if you're going through something. I mean, obviously, like some things are permanent, like my
mhm,
disease, obviously, but like,
mhm,
but you have no idea like what amazing things are coming. You have no clue. Like, if I would have told myself like 3 years ago that I had an amazing boyfriend, that I lived in San Diego, that I had a website, that I was like doing all this stuff, like I would have been like, what? Like,
yeah,
so I think everybody should be excited. I mean, you don't know what's coming in the future, but I think that can be scary, but
yeah,
that can also be like really exciting.
yeah, yeah. Let the hard times, shape who you are. Be grateful for them. Continue to grow through them. Um, and and be excited because everything you desire is out there waiting for you. That's amazing.
Definitely.
I love San Diego. Shout out San Diego. I wear
Yeah.
for those watching on YouTube, I wear my San Diego hat, to show respect to my guest here. Uh,
Yeah. Go San Diego.
but this was fantastic. And so I just want to make sure that hopefully you've gained some clarity on whatever it is you're going through while listening today. If you're cooking during your Thanksgiving right now, if you're getting ready to eat, if it's after Thanksgiving, if you're ready to get after some Black Friday shopping,
Oh
retail
yeah.
retail therapy is a real thing, but some of us, maybe we're just shopping online because it's you can't. I mean, Black Friday probably already started like months ago, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But whatever it is you're doing right now, I hope that you've gained some clarity. And from the Speak Your Vision podcast, from Aubrey and myself, happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, there's another episode of the Speak Your Vision podcast. Not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. Happy Thanksgiving.
When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run. I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision.